Hello everybody, this is Nathan. I'm back with a game review. I'm finally doing a game review for Fallout 4. Get straight to the point with this because I got a lot to say. The developers with Bethesda Game Studios and published by Bethesda Softworks. It runs off of a highly modified creation engine, which is a highly modified version of the one that was used in Skyrim. The platforms it currently runs on are PS4, Xbox One, and Windows. It's a single-player action role-playing game, and without really spoiling any of the plot for you, you'll wake after 200 years coming out of Vault 111 after basically the atomic war destroys the world, and it's set in a retro-futuristic style future, and the game is roughly about 400 hours long. So if you really want to bang for your buck, this game will actually really provide it. Now the overall size of the game world is freaking huge. It's pretty much all of Boston is included in this game. It's got Cambridge, West Cambridge, Logan Airport, and a bunch of other locations that you can actually explore throughout the game. Lots of water too, since it is Boston. It has a lot of water. You can actually search in islands, and of course you can't have the Boston area without Salem. I'm not going to get into detail with it, but Salem is in the game, and it's a pretty cool ass part of the game. Now the overall size of the game is slightly larger than Skyrim, but I found it's roughly about the same size as Skyrim, but it's a lot more dense. There's more stuff you can actually explore in this game compared to Skyrim, and they quoted roughly about 400 million square feet in size. So this game is a monster. It runs in 1080p at 30 frames per second locked on the PlayStation 4, and the consoles are pretty much locked around 30 frames per second. Hopefully Bethesda won't go the same route that will happen with Batman, and the PC version will be allowed to actually go on higher frame rate than 30 frames per second. I'm pretty sure they will after the Batman fiasco. It takes roughly about 30 gigabytes to install to your hard drive, so make sure that you have enough space to actually install this game. It will actually have mods that will be out on PC first and Xbox, but a later date you actually will be able to do the mods on PS4. I'm sure that means you'll make them on PC and port them over somehow, but that's pretty cool. They do have a season pass with this game that's roughly about $30, and normally I'm not a big fan of season passes, but in this game I can say it's actually worth the value because Bethesda is well known for their DLC being very large. So if you want to be a fan of actually buying a season pass, this is one of the few times I can actually say it's worth the money. The graphics I find are way better than the past versions, like Fallout 3. I think it's slightly better than Skyrim. It does have very good lighting. It does have weather effects. It does have a complete day and night cycle, so that's really, really wonderful. The only thing I've kind of noticed is even though the facial animation and graphics have gotten better, it's still kind of off in the faces. Their lip syncing's good, but the facial animation stuff still isn't quite as good as Grand Theft Auto. They seem to have this 100-mile stare, 100-mile stare when they look at you, but other than that, that's not really anything bad about the game. It has like 6 total difficulty settings, with scaled loop based on what difficulty that you set. You have your very easy mode, normal, hard, very hard, and survival. And the survival mode in this game is not like New Vegas's, where basically in New Vegas you had to make sure you ate food, you had to drink water, and you had to sleep to keep your character's life up. It's not really like that in this as much. It's mainly just a much harder difficulty level. And early on in the game you will locate your first partner, Dogmeat the dog. Now, I will say this without a shadow of a doubt, you cannot kill Dogmeat. I've tried. He's one of the characters you actually can't kill, which is kind of cool because a lot of times he'll help you out with killing enemies and stuff like that. It's got a really neat point-and-click mechanic built into the game. Wherever you move your cursor and click, you can send Dogmeat out to where he can actually collect stuff for you and bring it back to you. You can actually send him out to help you kill enemies, and it's very, very helpful. VATS naturally is back in this game, and this time it doesn't stop time like it did in Fallout 3. It just slows it down. It still slows it down enough to where you still have time to plan and everything, but you can't just stand there for 15 minutes and wait. You literally have to actually get off your ass and actually do stuff this time. You can't just sit there and plan it out. Since VATS only slows down time instead of stopping it, you got to make sure that you're on the ball with that. It comes with a multi-layered armor system for your battle armor, which is fantastic. I'm not even going to get into detail with that because it's just so in depth. It's amazingly good. The overall talking in this game is really cool. When you put your name in at first, it knows a lot of the names. So when I put in my name, it actually knew my name to where it actually says my name. And since your main character does talk, they recorded over 111,000 different lines of dialogue in this game because you can have a male or a female character, which is really cool. It does have naturally your first person mode and also a third person mode. So at any time you can just push a button and switch between the two. Now, there are 12 different companions that you will come across in the game, and you can have one of them at a time with you. Some of them can be romanced, and you can actually kill them and stuff, and it's based off of the decisions that you make using the dialogue wheel. And it has different choices on the dialogue wheel, and as you pick them, it'll lock out other choices and change pretty much what you say to the people. And it reminds me kind of similar to the wheel and dialogue from Mass Effect. Now, the karma system seems to be gone or either hidden in the game. I haven't seen a little icon pop up like in Fallout 3. If you did something real evil, a little evil icon will pop up. I haven't really noticed that in this. It might still be in the game somehow, but they're not just visually showing you as you progress through. Now, load times, it does have load times. Now, load times are generally when you're going in and out of gigantic buildings or underground, stuff like that. Like right at the very beginning when you first get out of the vault, there's a load time. But other than that, when you're in the open world, it seems like most everything is actually just open, no load times. You can go in and out of buildings and stuff like that, no problem. Now, if you die, though, I have noticed it's roughly like a 20-second or more reload time after you die. So that's still not as bad as games like, say, Bloodborne, which can take over a minute or two when you die. This one's still forgiving, but considering the overall size of the game, I can kind of understand why there is somewhat of a load time issue. There is no level cap in this game. So if you keep playing even past the main story, you can keep leveling your character up, which is really, really good. I think they did that on purpose because in the game, there are a total of 275 different perks that you can actually get and upgrade. And some are tied into the upgrade system from the special point system, which is based off of 7 different attributes that you put points into to raise certain things of your character. You have your strength, perception, endurance, charisma, intelligence, agility, and luck. And based on what points you put in those 7 different attributes from the special system, that can raise your ability, like how you shoot with in your VATS mode and stuff like that, which can actually make it to where you have more critical hits. You can have a higher luck where you can get a better drop rate. And based on that, some of the perks will actually open up for you differently than others. And you can upgrade the perks as you go through. The perk system is absolutely freaking huge. It does have a peek cover style mechanic in the game, so if you're around the corner you can kind of hide behind it and peek around. It kind of reminds me of like a little minor version from like Metal Gear Solid 5. It's a nice little addition, but nothing really that spectacular. Weapons, so far there's roughly about 50 basic weapons in the game, but there's over 700 different modifications that you can do. Each weapon has just this enormous amount of stuff. As long as you pick up stuff along the way, every single item of garbage you pick up will serve a purpose in some way or another, of either upgrading your abilities, upgrading your weapons, upgrading your gear, or helping you build stuff. It's really cool. And you can have your standard attack of your weapons. You can modify them to shoot energy rounds. You can even have them where they shoot fucking radioactive stuff that can actually kill people from radiation. It's really, really cool. And most all the guns that I've played so far have very appropriate recoil and weight to them. They feel really good. If you're playing with a big heavy weapon, it actually feels like a big heavy weapon, and a light pistols feel right. So they did a really good job with the overall feel and playability of the weapons. Now, the enemy AI in this is way, way better than Skyrim's and in Fallout 3's. I've had enemies that actually work together. They don't all just bum rush you. They still kind of will, but most of the part, they'll be smart. They will flank you. They'll take cover when you're shooting at them. And I've even had it to where when I was low on life and they kind of realized it, and they ended up bum rushing me to try to kill me really fast. So you can't just expect the AI to stand there and be stupid anymore like they used to right in the middle. They're a little bit smarter than they used to be, so you have to kind of plan ahead with that. And the biggest thing about the game that I noticed still has to be the settlement building option. It requires you, as you progress through the game, you'll find like red workbench stations. And while you're there, if you happen to do it in a town that's populated with people that aren't your enemies, you can get them to join you and stuff, but you need to gain their trust by either doing missions or just helping them out and stuff, and they'll get enough to where they'll like you, to where they'll stay with you. And as you progress to build your towns, which is just an overwhelming large amount of content in itself, it's like its own mini game. It's phenomenal the amount of size of stuff you can do with it. When you populate your own town and you get it like as a bustling town, you got to make sure if you want people to stay there, you got to provide certain things. You got to make sure that there's food by either growing crops. You got to make sure there's fresh water that they can have. Make sure to supply power to stuff with the power systems. Even beds. It all matters. Everything matters. And if you're able to build a big, strong, strapping community, you can actually end up having Brahmin transports bring new items. You can have people set up item shops. It's really, really cool. Now, because of that, also you will need protection. The bigger place you build, the more often and the chance that you'll have raiders show up and try to destroy it. And that makes perfect sense, considering if you have the end of the world scenario, raiders are looking for items and stuff. If you go into a place and they have a lot of cool stuff, naturally you're going to get raided. It hasn't really happened that often for me in my playthroughs of this game. My playthroughs, I think I've had like 4 main settlements, and the whole time of playing for about an hour and a half, I only had like 1 or 2 maybe instances of raiders attacking. But you can set up weapons, you can have like buzzsaws, electronic stuff to shoot fireballs, flamethrowers to burn them. You can even have sniper perches where the people that are in your town can hang out and use sniper rifles to kill the people. So it's really not that hard. Plus, you'll get a message that'll pop up on the screen and you can just fast travel back to your settlement to save them if you want. So it wasn't really a major inconvenience at all. I was way more worried about how it was going to be implemented, and they did a rather good job with it. Now, the final thing about this game also is with your Pip-Boy, you will unlock different things like different mini games, and they have it linked up if you're actually one of the lucky few people that get one of the real-life Pip-Boys that you can buy with the special edition of the game. You can take your smartphone with a free downloadable app and put it in there and actually have a real working Pip-Boy that links up to your save data and actually use it to help you throughout the game, which is really, really cool. Now, the main final thing about this game that I got to get into is the bugs. Now, you can't have an open world game this large with this much to do made by Bethesda without there being some issues on bugs. And I've got to say this hands down, this has to be the most well-stabilized Bethesda game I've played in a long time. They really got smart and they introduced a new way of actually squashing bugs. So they made sure some of the main things to take care of was like save files and stuff like that. So they did a fantastic job. I mean, I remember playing Skyrim and I had a part where I had a really game-crippling bug that destroyed my save files after I spent hundreds of hours into the game, and it just frustrated living hell out of me. So far, the only bugs I've noticed with this, since they did have a day 1 patch when you first install the game, was just minor texture glitching. I had to have a couple issues of AI of some of the people being kind of stupid and wonky, but for the most part the game seems very, very well built. Graphically, the game engine seems to be handling everything just fine. And so enough of everything. Now it's time to get down to the bread and butter and the meat and balls of this game. Is it worth the price? Hands down, without a shadow of doubt, yes it is. Control is fantastic. If you love the Fallout series, you will absolutely love this game, just over the sheer size and volume and value that you get. Even, like I said, I'm normally not a big fan of getting season passes, but in this case, I can't wait to look forward to see what Bethesda has in plans already for this game. So, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but, even though I have been playing this game for quite a while now, I wanted to wait until I was allowed to actually post this video, so I wouldn't get in trouble or anything. My final score of this game is a perfect score of a 10 out of a 10. That's right, people. I'm giving it a perfect score out of 10 out of 10. And mainly because just the overall size of it, the amount of stuff you can do. Some of the side quests can get a little daunting and kind of boring, but for the most part, it really holds your interest. It's really, all around a fantastic game to play. So if you have a chance to pick this game up, please go and do. That's if you've been living underneath a rock, or might be in a vault hiding somewhere. I'm sure you've heard of this game. And I want to thank everybody who subscribes to my channel. I want to thank everybody. Please leave some sort of comments below. Please hit that like button. I really appreciate any help I get. And I want to thank you all, and have fun out there and keep killing and raiding.